We're discussing the new book, Untenable, the story of white ethnic flight with its author, Jack Cashill. The book itself is focused on the city of Newark, but it applies to so many other cities around the country. Where I'm from, Norristown in the Philadelphia area, producer Foz, he's from the New York area. His father grew up in the Bronx. This is an example of a story where it affected millions of people, the largest country, or one of the largest countries in the world, one of the most advanced countries in the world, and a story that we don't talk about. Or when we do, you get these anti-racist New York Times columnists talking about it. So Jack, there's a section in the book where you're actually you're very critical of this New York Times author because they're writing this op-ed out about white flight, then they never once use the word crime. They never even include the word crime in this entire essay about it. And I love what you did is that you didn't even necessarily directly respond to it. You just copied and pasted the comments from the actual New York Times readers going at the article. Walk us through that.
Right. It was an op-ed by a professor named Leah Bustan at Princeton, a university I wanted to attend but couldn't afford. But that's neither here nor there. And she had written a book on white flight for which she won a major award. And after reading her op-ed, I began to wonder who came in second that year, But she starts off by saying, imagining the mindset of Democratic strategists in 2017, right after the election of Donald Trump. And they're attributing it to, they wonder, is it just racism or is it racism in economics? And so she tries to deduce what caused white flight, racism or racism in economics. And at the end, she concludes, she goes, what makes this project particularly difficult is a few of the people who left recorded why they left. And then she says, in a moment of just wonderful condescension, I don't think they even knew why they left. And I laughed out loud when I heard that because I had already spoken to 50 people and they knew exactly why they left. Sometimes to the moment they could tell you when they left and why they left. And then there were 800 comments, and I was reluctant to look at the comments, Jack, because you never know what they're going to say. I thought they would just say, you weren't hard enough on those people, blah, blah, blah. But instead, they lead off with, Professor Bustan, how can you possibly write an op-ed about white flight and not mention the word schools or crime? And then I just excerpted one comment after another. And these were stories from places from Philadelphia, from Chicago, from Detroit, from San Francisco, from Boston, from Compton, Trenton, New Haven, people saying, explaining how their communities became untenable. And each one had a story more horrific than another. Neighbor shot, daughter's hair set on fire, busing 45 minutes across town to bad schools, kids robbed for their lunch money. One story after another, after another, after another. And then I can't imagine how Bustan felt after reading these stories. And as they said to her, more than a few people said, okay, you've been at UCLA, you've been at Harvard, and you've been at Princeton. Have you ever experienced what you're writing about? Because if you had, you wouldn't be writing what you're writing.